"You're too soft to survive here," she mocked, her words echoing in Ethan's memory. It had been 3 months since Rava, his best friend, left Earth for the stars. She was always stronger, tougher, braver. He missed her every day. Ethan lived in a small city near the edge of the old forests. The trees were tall and wild, but the city was quiet. Every morning, Ethan would wake up, make his tea, and sit by the window, looking at the empty chair across from him. That was where Rava used to sit, telling stories about faraway planets and dangerous creatures. Now the chair stayed empty, and the stories were gone. He tried to keep busy. He read books about space, watched the news for any word of Rava's team, and sometimes walked in the woods, pretending she was beside him. But nothing filled the space she left behind. When he missed her the most, he replayed their last conversation in his head. "Ethan, I have to go. This is my chance to be something more," she said, her voice full of excitement and fear. He smiled, though his heart hurt. "Just don't forget about me." She grinned. "You? Never. But you need to toughen up, Ethan. Out there, you have to be strong. You're too soft to survive in the wild." He laughed, even though her words stung. Was he really too soft? Maybe. That's why he never followed her into the unknown. Days turned into weeks. The city grew colder, and Ethan felt more alone. He wanted to talk to Rava, but she was light years away. He didn't know how to reach her, didn't know if she was safe, or if she remembered him at all. Sometimes he wrote letters he never sent, hoping that somehow she could hear his thoughts. Phi spark. One night, as Ethan walked in the forest, a storm rolled in without warning. The wind howled through the trees, and lightning flashed across the sky. He was far from home, and the path was hard to see. Suddenly, he heard a cry, a small animal, trapped under a falling branch, struggling to breathe. Ethan's heart raced. He was afraid, but he couldn't leave the creature. He knelt in the mud, his hands shaking, and tried to lift the heavy branch. Rain poured down, soaking him to the skin. "Come on," he whispered. "You have to survive. I won't leave you." He pushed with all his strength, using a fallen stick as a lever, remembering a trick Rava once showed him. The branch moved, and the animal crawled free, limping into the shadows. Ethan sat back, breathless, his heart pounding. He was soaked, cold, and alone, but he felt something new inside him. He wasn't as weak as he thought. He made it home, tired but proud. That night, he looked at the stars and realized he wanted to reconnect with Rava, to tell her what happened. She always saw him as soft, but maybe being soft meant caring enough to help, even when it was hard. The hopeful plan. The next day, Ethan went to the old spaceport, where ships sometimes sent messages across the galaxy. He wrote a letter to Rava, his hands trembling as he described the storm, the rescue, and how he missed her. "Dear Rava, you said I was too soft to survive in the wild. Maybe you're right. I was scared last night, but I couldn't ignore a creature in trouble. I thought of you, how you'd never give up. Maybe I'm not as tough as you, but I'm strong in my own way. I hope you're safe. I hope you remember me. If you ever need someone who cares, I'll always be here. Your friend." Ethan, he sent the letter, not knowing if it would ever reach her. An unexpected reply. Weeks passed. Winter came, covering the city in white. Ethan went on with his life, still missing Rava, but feeling a little stronger every day. Then, one morning, a message arrived at the spaceport. It was from Rava. "Ethan, I got your letter. I'm sitting on a frozen moon, missing Earth, missing you. Out here, everyone thinks strength is about fighting, about not caring. But I remember you, the way you always listened, the way you helped everyone, even when it was hard. Last night, My team was trapped by a creature bigger than any I've ever seen. They all panicked. I remembered what you said about caring, about using your heart as strength. I used what I learned from you to calm the team, find a way out. Maybe being soft isn't a weakness. Maybe it's what helps us survive things no one else can. Thank you. Ethan, you helped me more than you know. Your friend Rava full circle. Ethan smiled, tears in his eyes. He realized he was never really alone. The connection he and Rava shared was stronger than any distance. He went outside, looked at the winter stars, and felt hope. He wasn't too soft to survive. He was exactly what he needed to be, and that was enough. Ending, in spirit of the title. You're too soft to survive here, she once mocked, but tonight, as he stood beneath the stars, Ethan knew the truth. Sometimes being soft meant having the courage to care, to try, and to never give up. And in the wild universe, that was the greatest strength of all. Ethan woke up early every morning, hoping for another message from Rava. He checked the old communication terminal at the edge of the city, but most days it sat quiet and empty. Even so, he always walked there, his boots crunching through the frost, a small spark of hope in his heart. He thought about Rava all the time. He missed her laughter, her stories about other worlds, and even her teasing words. The city felt emptier without her. Some days, Ethan wondered if she missed him too, or if she had already forgotten about the soft human back on Earth. One afternoon, Ethan wandered through the city park. The trees were bare, and the pond was frozen over. He watched children skating and couples walking together. He felt like a ghost, moving through a world that had changed since Rava left. He found himself sitting on an old wooden bench, pulling his coat tighter around him. He wanted to reach out to Rava again, but he didn't know what to say. What if she was busy? What if she didn't care? The thought made him feel small and unimportant. Ethan took out a small notebook, one he used. To write letters he was too shy to send. He started writing. Rava, some days I feel like the whole world is frozen. I wish you were here to tell me about your adventures. I don't know if you miss me, but I miss you. I hope you're safe. Your friend Ethan. He closed the notebook and stared at the icy pond. He wanted to reconnect, but it felt impossible. The distance between them was more than miles or planets. It was a wall he didn't know how to break. HFY spark. That night, Ethan heard a knock at his door. When he opened it, an older neighbor stood there, shivering and looking worried. My cat, Whiskers, ran into the woods, she said, her voice shaking. I can't find him. I'm too old to go looking at night. Could you help me? Ethan hesitated. The woods were dark and cold. But then he remembered the night he saved the small animal during the storm. He remembered Rava's words about strength and caring. He nodded, grabbed his flashlight, and headed out into the chilly night. The woods were silent except for the crunch of snow under his boots. He called Whisker's name, shining his light between the trees. He searched for hours, his breath fogging in the cold air. Just as he was about to give up, he heard a faint meow. He followed the sound and found Whiskers stuck in a tangle of thorny bushes. Ethan carefully reached in, ignoring the scratches on his hands, and gently lifted the frightened cat out. He wrapped Whiskers in his scarf and hurried back to the neighbor's house. Oh, thank you, Ethan, she cried, hugging Whiskers. You're a real hero. Ethan smiled, feeling a little less alone. Maybe he couldn't reach Rava across the stars, but he could make a difference here. He could care, even when it was hard. Hopeful steps. Later, Ethan sat by his window, looking at the stars. He realized something important. It didn't matter how far away Rava was. What mattered was that he still cared. He could share his life with her, even across the emptiness. by writing and hoping she would feel his words. He wrote another letter, this time with more confidence. Dear Rava, tonight, I helped my neighbor find her cat in the freezing woods. I was scared, but I kept going because someone needed me. I think about you every day. I don't know if you'll read this, but I want you to know you're not alone out there. I'm cheering for you from Earth. Your friend, Ethan. He took the letter to the old spaceport the next morning. The operator, a kind woman with silver hair, smiled as she sent the message. Someone out there is lucky to have you, Ethan, she said. He blushed but felt a little stronger inside. On the other side, far away, on a cold blue moon, Rava sat in her bunk, turning Ethan's first letter over and over in her hands. The world outside was harsh, and her team was always tired and tense. She missed Earth, missed home, and sometimes she missed Ethan most of all. When the message arrived, she read it 3 times. Each word warmed her, made her feel less alone. She sat down and wrote back, Ethan, thank you for your words. Some nights, I feel like I'm the only human in the universe. But then I remember you, back on Earth, caring for everyone. Maybe you're not here with me, but your hope is. Your letters give me strength. Take care. Rava. Building a bridge. Ethan received her. Reply a week later. He read it under the winter sun, smiling to himself. The world didn't feel so empty anymore. Maybe he couldn't visit Rava, but his words could travel across the stars. They could build a bridge between 2 lonely hearts. Ethan began to write more often about the city, the people he helped, the things he learned. He shared his fears and his hopes. Rava wrote back, telling him about strange planets, dangerous missions, and the things that made her feel strong and alive. With every message, the distance felt smaller. They laughed together through their words, cheered each other on, and promised to meet again someday. Ending, in spirit of the title, You're too soft to survive here. The days grew longer, and the snow finally melted from the city streets. Spring was coming, but Ethan still felt the cold inside his heart. Every day, he walked past the old bench in the park, remembering how he and Rava used to sit there, making plans and sharing dreams. The world felt too quiet without her voice beside him. He tried to keep busy. He helped his neighbors, read new books, and sometimes joined a group that cleaned up the forest trails. He wrote letters to Rava and waited for her replies, each one a tiny light in the darkness. But there were still moments, usually late at night, when the space between them felt so big it almost hurt to breathe. One evening, Ethan sat on his bed with his notebook open. He stared at the blank page, unsure what to write. He wanted to tell Rava everything, but sometimes words were hard to find. Rava, I miss you. Sometimes I wonder if you really understand how much. He stopped. He didn't want Rava to feel bad. Maybe she was busy, or maybe she was happy where she was. Maybe he was being selfish, wishing for her to come back. He closed the notebook, feeling sad and small. He looked out his window at the stars, searching for the one bright enough to be her. The sky was huge and silent. HFY spark. A few days later, the city was shaken by news. A large tree had fallen in the city park during a storm, blocking the main path and trapping a group of children in the playground. The parents were panicked, and the workers weren't sure how to move the heavy tree. Ethan was there, helping with the cleanup. He saw the fear in the parents' faces and the worry of the workers. Everyone was waiting for someone else to do something. He remembered Rava's stories about her team in space, how sometimes, when everyone else was afraid, someone just had to act. Even if you weren't the strongest or the fastest, you could still make a difference. Ethan looked at the tree. It was too heavy to lift, but maybe not impossible to move. He ran to the tool shed and found some old ropes and a crowbar. He called for help, showing the workers how they could use the ropes to pull the tree little by little. More people joined in, some pushing, some lifting, all working together. After an hour, the tree rolled away just enough for the children to crawl out. The parents hugged their kids, and everyone cheered. Ethan felt tired but proud. He wasn't the hero in a story, just a soft-spoken man who cared enough to try. That night, he wrote to Rava with new hope in his heart. "Dear Rava, today I helped save some children in the park. I wasn't sure I could do it, but I tried. Maybe that's what being strong is. Trying, even when you're scared. I hope you're safe. I hope you remember the quiet one on Earth, who always believed in you. Your friend, Ethan Hopeful Steps." Days later, a message arrived at the spaceport. Ethan rushed there, his heart pounding with excitement. It was from Rava. "Ethan, your letters always come at the perfect time. Some days I feel far away from everything I know. But when I read your words, I remember home and the people who care about me. Today, we faced a new danger. My team wanted to run, but I remembered what you said about trying, even if you're scared. Because of you, I found the courage to stay and helped out. Thank you for being my friend across the stars." Rave Ethan smiled, feeling warm inside. Maybe he couldn't close the distance between them, but their words were building a bridge, one message at a time, a new idea. The next day, Ethan sat at his window, looking at the first green buds on the trees. He wanted to do more than write letters. He wanted to send something special to Rava, something that would remind her of home. He remembered the old bench in the park and how he and Rava used to carve their names on the wood. He took a small piece of wood from the fallen tree and carefully carved a tiny bench, just like the one they used to sit on. He wrote a letter to go with it. "Rava, this is a small bench, like the one back home. Whenever you feel alone, remember, you have a place beside me, even from far away. Your friend, Ethan." He took the little bench and the letter to the spaceport. The operator smiled when she saw it. "That's a special gift," she said. "I think it will reach her." Ending in spirit of the title. "You're too soft to survive here," she once teased, but Ethan knew now that caring deeply could be a kind of strength. Even from far away, even when he felt small and quiet, he could build hope, a bridge across distance and time, strong enough for two friends to meet, no matter how far apart. The days grew warmer as spring turned to summer. Ethan still walked to the spaceport every week, hoping for a new message from Rava. He always asked the silver-haired operator, "Anything for me?" Sometimes she would hand him a slip of paper with a smile, but many days Ethan left empty-handed, the weight of distance heavy in his chest. He missed Rava more than ever. The world felt busy and bright, but Ethan often felt like he was living behind glass, watching life go by while he waited for a friend who was light years away. Every morning he placed the tiny wooden bench he'd carved for Rava by his window, hoping she had received it, hoping it made her smile. One evening, Ethan sat by the riverbank, tossing pebbles into the water. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. He watched groups of friends laughing and families having picnics. He wondered what Rava was doing, if she was safe, if she still thought of him. He wanted to reconnect, to feel close again. But the silence between their messages made the distance feel endless. HFY spark. That week, the city's power went out during a heavy summer storm. The wind knocked down power lines and trees, and the streets were dark for 2 days. People struggled without lights, phones, or even fresh water. Ethan remembered his neighbor from before, how she needed help when her cat was lost. This time, he checked on her again, bringing candles and helping her carry water from the city well. And he visited other neighbors, making sure everyone was safe. He saw people in his building sitting alone in the dark, so he invited them to gather in the hallway, There, by the light of a few candles, Ethan told stories, some his own, some Rava's, stories of courage and hope in faraway places. The children listened with wide eyes, and the adults smiled for the first time in days as the night grew late. Ethan looked around at the group, all brought together by kindness and a little bravery. He felt a small spark of hope. Maybe he was just one person, but he could still make a difference. The letter that changed everything. When the power returned, Ethan wrote another letter to Rava. He told her about the storm and the darkness, about helping his neighbors and sharing stories. He wrote how he felt lonely sometimes, but helping others made him feel closer to her, like she was right there with him. Reve, this week, a storm left us in darkness. I missed you more than ever, but I remembered your stories, and I shared them with others. It made people smile. Sometimes I feel like I'm still waiting for you to come home. But maybe the best way to feel close to you is to share what you taught me, to care, to be brave, and to give hope, even when I feel far away. Your friend. Ethan. He sent the letter with a photo of the candlelit gathering, everyone smiling in the soft light. On the far moon, Rava was having her own hard days. Her team faced new dangers, strange illnesses, equipment failures, and disagreements that made everyone tense. She missed Earth, missed simple things like summer rain and the sound of rivers when she received Ethan's letter and the photo. Her heart warmed. She showed it to her team and told them about her friend back on Earth, the one who brought people together, even in the darkness. Her teammates listened, and some even smiled, saying, "That's real strength." Rava wrote, "Back, Ethan. Your words and your hope reach farther than you know. When I read your stories, I remember why I left to learn, but also to share what makes us human. Sometimes things are hard here, but knowing you're there, caring and helping others, makes the distance feel smaller. Thank you for being my friend." Even from across the stars, Rhea trying something new, Ethan wanted to do more than write. He wanted to hear Rava's voice, to really connect. He spent hours at the city library, learning about new ways to send messages. He found a group of students building a radio that could send signals into space. They invited him to join, and Ethan learned how to build and use the radio. After weeks of work, they finished. The group gathered on the city's highest hill, and Ethan spoke into the microphone, sharing a message for Rava. "Rava, this is Ethan. I hope you can hear me. I miss you. I hope you're safe. Thank you for teaching me how to be strong and kind. I hope we meet again." They sent the signal into the sky, repeating it for hours, hoping it would reach her. Ending, in spirit of the title, "You're too soft to survive here." She once teased, but as Ethan's voice traveled across space, he understood something powerful. Caring, hoping, and reaching out, these were strengths that could cross any distance. In the dark and in the light, Ethan's hope was like a message sent through the stars, proving that no distance could break a kind heart. Summer was ending, and the days grew shorter. The leaves in the city park turned gold and red, falling softly to the ground. Ethan still visited the spaceport every week, hoping for a new message from Rava. He listened for a reply on the radio at night, the static filling his small apartment. Each time, he hoped to hear her voice, even if it was just for a second. Some days, the distance between them felt like a mountain he could never climb. He missed her laughter, her stories, and her friendship. He often wondered if she missed him, too, if she listened to the radio and thought of him when she looked at the stars. Ethan tried to keep busy. He worked with the student group at the library, helping them send messages into space and teaching kids about radio waves. He planted flowers by the riverbank and helped his neighbors with small tasks. But sometimes, when he was alone, the sadness crept in, quiet and cold. One night, Ethan sat by his window, watching the stars appear one by one. He took out his notebook and wrote, "Rava, the days are getting shorter here. I watch the leaves fall and think of you. I hope you are safe. I hope you remember me. Sometimes I feel far away from everything, but I keep hoping to hear from you. Your friend Ethan." He folded the letter and left it on his desk. He didn't send it yet. He wasn't sure if the words were enough this time. HFY Spark. A few days later, Ethan heard about a problem in the city. The river by the park was blocked by branches and trash from the last storm. The water was rising, and people worried it might flood the playground. The city workers were busy, and it seemed like no one wanted to help. Ethan remembered all the times Rava had told him about fixing things with her team. How sometimes you just had to start, even if you were afraid or unsure. He decided to try. He called his friends from the library and the kids he helped with the radio. They brought gloves, rakes, and bags. Together, they worked along the river, pulling out branches, bottles, and old toys. It was hard work, and they got wet and muddy, but they laughed and cheered each other on. People walking by stopped to help. Soon, there was a crowd working together, clearing the riverbank. By sunset, the water flowed smoothly again, and the playground was safe. Ethan looked at the smiling faces around him and felt the sadness lift a little. He realized that even though he felt alone sometimes, he could still make a difference. He could still bring people together, just like Rava. That night, he finally wrote a new letter. "Rava, today we cleaned the river, and people came together to help. It made me feel close to you, even though you are far away. I hope you are doing well. I hope you are making friends and helping others too. Thank you for teaching me to be brave and kind. Your friend." Ethan. He sent the letter the next morning, feeling a little lighter. Across the stars, on a distant moon, Rava was having a hard week. Her team was tired, and the work was difficult. She missed home. She missed Ethan. She listened to the radio every night, hoping to hear his voice, but only heard static. When Ethan's letter arrived, she smiled for the first time in days. She showed the letter to her team. "This is my friend on earth," she said. "He brings people together, even when he feels alone." Her teammates listened to the story about the river and smiled. Rava realized that Ethan's hope and kindness were like a bridge connecting them all, even across space. She decided to write back, "Ethan, your letters make my days brighter. I wish you could see the stars here. They are so close and bright, but sometimes I still feel far from home. When I read your words, I remember why I came here, to learn, to help, and to bring hope, just like you do. Thank you for being my friend, even from so far away." Rava knew kind of hope. Ethan received Rava's message on a rainy afternoon. He stood by the window, reading it over and over. The sadness wasn't gone, but it was softer now, replaced by a quiet hope. Maybe he would always miss Rava, but their friendship was strong enough to cross any distance. He realized that connection wasn't just about being close. It was about caring, about helping others, about sharing hope, even when the world felt big and lonely. That night, Ethan sat at the radio and spoke into the microphone. "Rava, if you can hear me, thank you for being my friend. Your hope reaches me, even across the stars. I'll keep trying. I'll never give up." Ending in spirit of the title. "You're too soft to survive here," she once teased. But Ethan knew the truth. Sometimes kindness and hope were the strongest things of all. Even when you felt small and far away, you could change the world one letter, one message, one act of care at a time. Autumn arrived in the city. The trees lost their leaves, and the air grew cool and crisp. Ethan still missed Rava every day. He kept her letters by his bedside and listened to the radio at night, hoping for a message from the stars. Sometimes he dreamed of her, and sometimes he woke up in the middle of the night, feeling lonely and far away from everything. He still wrote to her, sharing the small things that made up his days. The sound of rain on the window, the taste of apple pie, the glow of lanterns on cool evenings. He wondered if Rava could picture them, or if her own world was too different. Now Ethan joined a group at the city library who met every week to share stories. He told them about Rava, about her bravery and her adventures. The group listened with wonder, and some even wrote letters to their own friends who had moved far away. Ethan felt proud, but he still wished Rava could hear his voice or see his face just once more. One evening, as he walked through the empty park, Ethan felt the sadness return. The city lights seemed far away, and the world felt quiet and cold. He sat on the old bench, the same kind he had carved for Rava, and pulled his jacket tight around him. Does she remember me as much as I remember her? He wondered. HFY spark. Suddenly, Ethan heard voices nearby. He looked up and saw a group of children, lost and frightened. They had gotten separated from their parents during a festival in the city square and wandered into the park as it grew dark. The children were scared and cold. Ethan remembered how he used to feel as a child lost and alone, wishing for someone to help. He knelt down and spoke to them softly, telling them stories about Rava and her bravery, about how she once found a way home on a strange planet by following the brightest star. The children listened, and their fear faded a little. Ethan led them back toward the city lights, singing a simple song his mother had taught him. When they reached the square, their parents rushed forward, hugging them tightly and thanking Ethan with tears in their eyes. That night, as Ethan walked home, he felt a new kind of hope. Maybe he couldn't always reach Rava, but he could still be the kind of friend she believed. He could be kind, brave, and caring. A message sent. Ethan wrote a letter to Rava late that night. Rava, today I helped some lost children find their way home. I told them stories about you, how you're brave and always help others. They listened, and they weren't scared anymore. I still miss you. Sometimes I feel alone, but helping others makes me feel close to you. Even across the stars. Your friend, Ethan. He sent the letter, not knowing when or if she would read it. But he hoped the words would reach her, just like her hope always reached him. On the far moon, Rava was having a difficult week. Her team faced problems with their equipment, and everyone was tired and worried. She missed Earth, especially on nights when the moon's cold wind made her long for home. One day, a package arrived for her. Inside was Ethan's letter and a small drawing from one of the children he'd helped, a picture of Ethan leading a group through darkness, a bright star shining above them. Rava smiled, her heart filled with warmth. She showed the letter and picture to her team, and they all felt a little stronger. Rava sat down and wrote to Ethan. Ethan, your stories give me hope. Even when I feel lost or tired, I remember your kindness and courage. Thank you for being my friend, even from so far away. You help more people than you know. Rava, a new connection. One afternoon, Ethan was at the library when the student radio group rushed in, excited. We got a signal. They said, it's from Rava's station. Ethan's heart leaped. He ran to the radio room and listened as a faint voice crackled through the static. Ethan, this is Rava. Your messages reached me. I miss you too. Thank you for your stories and hope. You help me every day. I hope we see each other again. The room cheered. Tears filled Ethan's eyes as he spoke into the microphone. Rava, I hear you. Thank you for being my friend. Wherever you are, I'm wishing you hope across the stars. Ending in spirit of the title. You're too soft to survive here, she once teased, but as their voices crossed the vast distance, Ethan understood that caring, hope, and kindness could travel farther than anything else. even in the darkest moments. The light of friendship could shine through strong enough to guide anyone home.